Why are so many tattoo artists quitting all of a sudden? Is it the money? Is it something deeper? Let's talk about it.
So I was having this exact same conversation with one of my coworkers the other day. And then, wouldn't you know, the old ghost of the internet was spying on us, listening in. And then this video came across my TikTok. Oh, come on. Oh, shit.
Lately, I've been noticing more and more shops closing, reputable artists quitting, they're moving on to different careers. People who once loved tattooing have completely fallen out of love with the industry. I've got my own theories. I opened my first shop in 2010, and back then, supply and demand was very different.
There's a time before even I started tattooing when tattooing was a side hustle. Like, you had to have other jobs and just did tattooing for fun or for a little bit of money, just to be creative. When I started tattooing, it was pretty established where like that could be your only job. You could just tattoo and you made a good living at that. So supply and demand has definitely changed, because back then there were plenty of clients for the artists that were there. Well, enough for us to at least make money off of it full time and not have to worry about having a second job. Tattooing hadn't quite hit the screens yet when I started tattooing. So where did all the clients come from? Well, I mean, we still had plenty of clients. I mean, we tattooed alternative people, military people, construction workers. Hell, we even tattooed moms and daughters and dads and teachers. And there were people that, we called normies that got tattooed, just not as much. It wasn't as prevalent. It was still not underground, but it was still kind of a niche thing. It wasn't that rampant, and that's because it wasn't all over TV. It wasn't all over, we didn't have social media. So it really wasn't all over anyone's social media. It wasn't in the news. It wasn't really that, I guess, relevant to a lot of people, except for the people like us and the people that liked tattooing at the time. Which brings me to another point. Tattooing really wasn't a cash cow back then. So we didn't have people beating down our doors to be tattoo apprentices. The only people that came to us to ask for an apprenticeship were people that actually really just wanted to be part of the culture. They loved art. They loved the craft of tattooing. So it wasn't really a thing where it's like, oh, I want to be cool. Oh, I want to make crap ton of money. It's, I love art. I want to do artistic things. I want to do something different. I want to create something. And I'm an outsider. I'm an alternative person that, normal jobs either won't hire me, or they just don't see me I just don't see myself fit for that job. They didn't really come into it, and I didn't get into it thinking, oh, I make a lot of money. To me, this was a job that I just felt like I could make some kind of living at, and I get to do art because that was my goal. That's what I was trying to go to college for, which, that'll be another video. But I just wanted to be in the creative field. And if I could make a little bit of money, even if it was part-time, even if it was just, something to kind of like keep my creative juices flowing, and I could do something else to pay the bills. But again, luckily enough, back then, there was just the right amount of clientele for us to make a livable wage and even have a little extra for conventions or other things, and things that like broaden us as tattoo artists. And it worked out that way.
You couldn't just order a tattoo kit online. Suppliers only sold to licensed shops, and they even called to confirm that you actually worked under that shop.
How about that Amazon, huh? I mean, you can get anything you need, especially tattoo equipment. I mean, every Tom, Dick, and Harry can now get their hands on any tattoo equipment they need. Now, there have always been scratchers. There were scratchers back when I tattooed. But I feel like now it's just easier for them to get it. It was a little harder for them to get it back then, so they were like kind of limited on how many scratchers there were in our area. So now with Amazon giving you the equipment you need or supplying you with it, you now have YouTube that supplies you with the knowledge that you need. So the supplies are all over the place. You can get anything for tattooing. So anybody that wants a tattoo out of their house or garage or on the streets or on a mountaintop, they could do it because all the information, all the equipment is just super easy to get their hands on. There are a lot more hoops to jump through to get your equipment. And on top of that, I mean, it was, if we didn't buy the stuff, at least we had the knowledge to make it. I mean, I made so many needles. Oh my God, all the time. And so like, even if we couldn't get the stuff, we still at least had the supply to make the stuff. And that stuff's just not hard anymore. I feel like most people that do tattoo out of their house or whatever don't have any idea how to make a needle or to make ink or any of that stuff. So it definitely has changed and become a lot more accessible to get the stuff you need, which is, you know, it's frustrating because I feel like at least if it was harder to get, you would see these people that are coming to tattooing without an apprenticeship or whatever, they had to work harder to get the stuff at least, you know, there's that. But with the ease of use, it just makes tattooing a hobby for a lot of people. And damn, I can't tell you how much it frustrates me that tattooing has now become a hobby. Come on, dude, it's not a hobby. It's not, you don't draw blood from people and stick people and poke people, things that do things that can cause an infection as a hobby. It's just, it's not safe, people.
Apprenticeships is a big one. They were earned. They weren't handed out. Now, the market's wide open. Anyone could get equipment, and there are more artists than ever before.
Okay, now he's exactly right. I'm gonna speak on this for a minute, okay? I have met tons of tattoo artists, and some of my friends, that talk about the toxicity of an apprenticeship, how it's so awful, and people take advantage of the apprentice, and how they haze them and all that stuff. And while I know there are artists that do that, and I do not agree with it, it pisses me off thinking that someone would take advantage of someone's desire to learn something just to abuse them. But at the same time, there is something to be said about earning the apprenticeship, earning the tattoo. I had a friend of mine that went to work at 3 o'clock every morning, opened up her shop that she was a manager of, did that all day, and then came to my shop at noon just to hang out, draw. She would run errands for us, and she even stayed till we closed at 9 or 10 to help clean the shop. She'd go home, sleep for a few hours, get up, go to her day job. She did this for a while. And that's before I even gave her an apprenticeship. I ended up giving her an apprenticeship because she worked so hard. And she still, while she's doing her apprenticeship, did that same schedule for like a year. Like, imagine the dedication it took to do that, to want to be a tattoo artist that bad. You know, they say that when you are given something, you don't really appreciate it or respect it as much as if you earn it. And I feel like that's the problem. Artists come in and they teach their apprentices around the apprentice's schedule. When they want to come in and do the work, it's when they come and do the work. They only have to learn their style because that's what they're good at drawing, and they don't bother learning anything else. And then they get mad and don't do tattoos that don't align with what they do. So they just pass off tattoos. Well, what is that? Like, seriously. Now, I'm not on here to rant about apprenticeships and all that stuff. I understand that there are a lot of tattooers that have learned from learning at home or from YouTube that are amazing tattooers. And I'm not going to bash them because they had a drive and they couldn't get an apprenticeship for one reason or another. But for people that really just don't feel like they have to go through earning it, that just, it really chaps my ass, you know? Why am I doing this? Where's my apprentice?
But more artists doesn't always mean more quality or more work. Clients now have endless amounts of options.
So with the easeability of getting tattoo equipment, these YouTube tattoo courses, and then mentors taking on apprentices just so they have free labor and somebody they could teach quickly and make money off of course we're going to be oversaturated. It's ridiculous. Which, you know, that might not be such a bad thing, really, if the economy wasn't in the tank. I mean, money is short for everybody, and since we are a luxury, people are going to spend money on high-end expensive luxury things. I mean, some might, and that's been a thing when we've had other recessions and stuff like that, but right now it seems to not be the time for that. And then you add into the fact all the new 18-year-olds that wanted to come in and get their first tattoo, they're not coming in either. I mean, tattooing really isn't cool anymore for some people. Hell, some people are actually getting their tattoos lasered and posting that all over social media, and that's becoming a big new trend. So it's just not feasible for a lot of artists to really make a lot of money right now.
And the battle is often over pricing and not the artistry.
The pricing thing is tricky because I feel like there's both ends to it. We have tattoo artists that are outpricing themselves by charging all these ridiculous amounts of money for their tattoos, and that could be any generation. I mean, the old school people are charging ridiculous amounts because they feel like they're entitled to the money because of their experience and how many times how long they've been into tattooing. And I'm a firm believer in experience does warrant a higher charge, because you are paying for the fact that we've been doing this forever, or for a long time, rather, not forever. But we've been doing it for a long time, and we know how tattoos are going to heal. We know how the needle in the skin works and treat, like all that stuff. But some of these people out here trying to charge Tom Cruise prices trying to be Tom Cruise rich, should I say. And then you have these young people that come in, these 1 to 5 year tattooers, who have this huge social media following, and they think because they have this following, they too are entitled to charge astronomical amount of money. An astronomical amount of money. And more power to you, but at the same time, it tends to make the industry look bad, because then everyone just assumes that tattoos are super expensive and that they just can't afford it. On the other end, we have tattooers, young and old, who are trying to get those clients in the door. And so they undercut everybody by charging the least amount possible. And what that does is that hurts the industry as a whole, because people, the average person, just wants to get a tattoo, and they want to get something that's affordable, especially in these trying times. So when you have these social media people that are booked out doing large scale work and they're getting paid for it by people that actually have the money, and then you have these people that are just taking on the average everyday Joe that are charging so little, what does it leave for the people in the middle ground? And again, that goes back to the economy. People aren't getting tattooed, and the ones that are looking for an affordable piece, So it is tough out there. And when people think about it in terms of, if I'm making the bare minimum or I have to charge way less than what I'm worth, it kind of messes with your ego a little bit. It kind of makes you feel like, it makes you wonder what your value is and why work so hard to put out good work when people aren't going to show up, unless you can get those clients that are willing to pay your prices. And it's trying to figure out the balance between what you're worth and what people can afford. But again, when you're getting priced out by these social media people that are super well known, who are talented, a lot of them are talented, I'll give them that. And then the people that undercut everybody, what do you do? Where do you sit? And sometimes you kind of wonder if it's worth it.
Is this why a lot of people are quitting? Oversaturation, burnout, bad ethics maybe?
The burnout thing is something that's hit me also, and I've had this conversation with my coworkers several times. Sorry about all the noise. But the burnout comes from the fact that, back in the day, we used to just tattoo people that came in, looked at our portfolios, we'd sit with and talk to for minutes to an hour about their idea, and then we had free reign to kind of bring their idea to life. It was a much more collaborative thing, which I feel like that's kind of missing these days too. It shortly evolved into, for every 10 tattoos we did that were mostly just Pinterest tattoos or drawings that people brought in or AI generated work, we got to do one really cool portfolio piece. And then it eventually came to now where we're mostly doing Pinterest tattoos, AI generated work, or drawings that people bring in themselves, or handwritten signatures and stuff like that. And that kind of comes down to that's where we are now. That brings on that burden of, are we really being creative? Which leads us to the burnout part. We start to feel like, are we just glorified copy machines? Are we beholden to the almighty dollar? Just to make ends meet, we have to do anything that comes in the door and kind of forego our creativity. And that hits us to a point where we kind of feel like we're not doing what we got into this to do. Now, we are 100% a service industry, and I get that. But I do miss the collaborative days. I miss the days when people came in, checked the portfolios, they liked our work, and they were like, hey, I like your style, here's my idea, what can we do? At that point, I feel like some people kind of tend to think, if I got into this for the love of art and the passion of art and creativity, and now I feel like I'm just doing a job all the time and I'm just putting something out there that I'm really not happy with or stoked about, is that really what you want to feel like all the time? I don't. But at the same time, me personally, like I always say, I just love tattooing. I try to find as much positivity in anything that I do to keep going. And I do a majority of Pinterest stuff too. I mean, every now and again I get to do a really cool, fun piece, and I'm stoked about it, and I'll post on my Instagram or put it on my portfolio. I want to talk about portfolios. People don't do portfolios anymore. It's all on Instagram. But I'll put it on Instagram, and I'll show it off, and I'll be super proud of it. And then I'm back to 2-3 a month work of 2 or 3 weeks to a month of just doing the stuff that comes in the door, the stuff that pays the bills. Am I burnt out? I get burnt out sometimes, yeah, but I don't have to quit. I'm not going anywhere. I still love my job. But at that point, it's just up to us to kind of like put our stuff out there, put our drawings out there, put our style out there more, as far as like our as far as our art, and as far as like, you know, those tattoos that we love doing and we have gotten to do, push those on our social media a lot more. And hopefully that helps.
Or is this just the new reality of chasing an art career in today's world? Now, let's not talk badly about this generation and that generation and get into that talk. Because let's be real, the new generation of tattooers has opened the door for the artistry to get where it's at today. These new artists have taken things to the next level, and if you can't keep up, then you're gonna fall behind.
So let's talk about this. We do have a lot of newer tattooers coming in that are killing it. I mean, they are just naturally talented. Now, it may be in one particular style, but they are crushing it. And when older artists, you know, myself included, see that, it tends to make us feel grumpy, which grumpy is basically inadequate and obsolete. But most of us tend to see that and say, you know what, I want to do something. I want to do something like that. I want to do something different, unique, and cool. There's times when we just are so used to how we tattoo, and with the time that we put into what we've already been doing, it's kind of hard to learn something new. It's kind of hard to jump into a whole new style, because some of these take tons of time to learn. And sometimes that just makes you feel like if you can't put out the best work in any style or particular style, why even try it? And that tends to make people feel like they just need to quit, because at some point they feel like their style is just not making the money anymore. And if they can't do their style and do what they love, why are they doing this? Because they got into it because they love doing this particular thing. And it sucks to say it, but we have to evolve. There's this whole thing about, you know, traditional artists, and Sailor Jerry wouldn't have done it this way, and, you know, they're pissing on the old school way. But people tend to forget that, like, Sailor Jerry was an innovator. I mean, that guy invented pigments, certain kinds of pigments. He did different needle groupings. I mean, he invented so much when it comes to tattooing that if he was around today, he would have just been right on the evolution train. So to say that, like, the old school way is the only way to do things, it's not necessarily accurate, in my opinion. Now, I am a firm believer that there are certain things that do make a difference, do matter. Traditional tattoos, honestly, are the ones that will last the longest. Clean line work, bold color packing, black whip shading. I mean, that will stand the test of time, and it's been proven. I've seen tattoos that are 6 years old that I can still tell what they are, and that stuff matters. Japanese tattoos, also, same. They stand the test of time, and that's why people kind of like try to tell people, like, hey, look, some of these styles might not look good in the next, 10 years. But some people just don't care, People need to realize that tattooing, a lot of styles are trends. They come and go. And that fine line, Pinteresty stuff will eventually fade out. People won't be getting that forever. And, if you're a young tattooer or a tattooer that's what you specialize in, that's fine, but make sure you can do other things, because that won't last forever. And older tattooers who are wanting to get out and just saying, I can't do this, like, I'm not making any money anymore, I'm not getting to do things I want to do. If you just hold out, things will come back around, and you kind of just got to make yourself relevant again and stop feeling like you're just going to be obsolete or you're going to be outdated. And you might be for right now, but again, trends come and go. And I've always said, if you're we're tattooers, like there are tattoo artists, but we're tattooers. We are craftsmen. Our job is to put an image on someone's body. It's not, oh, we just need to put traditional on people's body, or, oh, I'm just going to put fine line on people's body, or, oh, I'm just going to put script. No, tattooers put ink in people's bodies. That's our job. That's our craft. And like any craft, it evolves. Things change. New tools come into it. New rock stars come into it. All this stuff is always evolving. And it's our job, it's on us to evolve with it, to improve our skills, and to take the time to learn these things. And it could be hard, especially when it comes to certain things. Like, I don't expect people to kind of just pick up photo color realism on a whim. And when you've just been doing things for your way for 20 years, it is difficult. It is annoying. It is a big adjustment. But that's part of our craft. We are tattooers. That's our job. So I feel like that part is on the individual artist. It's not about what the new people are doing. It's not about the clients. That's on us. How far are we willing to go, and how hard are we willing to work, and how much are we willing to put into this to stay relevant, to just keep going and not give up. And I get it's tough, and that's part of the burnout thing. But we have to do it. If you love it so much, you love it that much, you kind of just have to push through sometimes. And all the other factors do come into it, and that stuff does matter. And I'm not saying people that do leave the industry are wrong. They're not. If you're not feeling it and the love for the craft is gone, it's gone. It's just the way it is. Or if you feel like it's not what you want to do anymore because you are losing that passion for it and you want to keep that, but you don't want to resent it, I get it. Maybe it's time to get out. And I've had those moments. But I love tattooing. And again, I'm not saying the people that are getting out love it any less. But I love tattooing, and I love hanging out in my shop and getting the camaraderie with my guys and girls, and just being there. I love the feeling of it. So for me, it's not really an option to give up just yet. And I think it's either we evolve or we die.
If you're an artist, tell me why you think people are walking away from the industry. And if you're a client, tell me this: why do you choose your artist over everyone else? Let's get a real conversation going in the comments, especially from a client's point of view. This would create insight from a client's perspective on what we might be lacking as tattooers, which are leading people to go elsewhere. And maybe that's why tattooers are quitting.
Now, all these factors that this guy's talking about definitely play a role. I have seen tons of people talk about leaving the industry. I mean, heavy hitters, people that I've followed for years, and even newer tattooers. It's not relegated to older, experienced tattooers. And I hope I didn't make it sound like it was just older tattooers. But a lot of older ones are leaving, but new ones are leaving too. With all these factors contributing to people just getting burnt out, not making enough money, feeling obsolete, or just not enjoying tattooing anymore at all, it's heartbreaking to see my fellow crafters leaving. Crafters? Why do I call them crafters? Tattooing is a craft. Fellow tattooers leaving. It breaks my heart. It really does. But as far as all that goes, I know there are some things, like I said earlier, that people just can't change. They just don't have it in them anymore to continue. And I get it. And I wish all of them the best of luck in whatever they do. And maybe they'll come back, because it's happened. People have quit and then come back. Tattooing is a lot like rock and roll. People say they're going on hiatus or they're quitting, and then the band gets back together and all of a sudden they're having a reunion tour or 12 reunion tours. But I think a lot of it does boil down to ego. And that's something we have to look at ourselves. Not focus so much on the outside elements that could be contributing to it. Now, money is a major thing, and if we can't make money doing this, we need to go elsewhere and find that money. But like I said, ego plays a big part in that. I always think back to what this artist told me years ago. Confidence can take you farther than your skill, but your ego can make your skill go unnoticed.